The right to life has been a part of the Republican Party platform for more than 20 years, so I want to ask several of you questions about abortion and stem cell research, starting with you, Governor Thompson. Some researchers say the lines of embryonic stem cells that President Bush has approved federal funding for are inadequate. Tell me why they're wrong, and more importantly, tell me how you would convince them that these researchers have all the tools they need.
Well, first off, embryonic stem cells as well as adult stem cells show great promise for all Americans. Embryonic stem cells was started at the University of Wisconsin in Madison, and embryonic stem cells, the policy that was announced by the President on August 9th, set forth about 72 lines that could be federally funded and could be used for research and still receive the federal funds.
Researchers say there are not that many, sir.
Well, there's not that many. There's 22 being used. There's at least 3 more that have not been used. Some of them were not able to be viable. Some of them were not able to have what we call pluripotency, and so they were not able to continue. But there is some tremendous new research going on amniotic fluids by Dr. Campbell. There's also some new research going on at the University of Wisconsin that says adult stem cells, if you do it the right way, will have the same characteristics as embryonic stem cells. So until this research is done, we do not have to destroy any more embryos. There's enough lines right now and capable with this other research going on that embryonic stem cells, along with adult stem cells, cord blood, and amniotic fluid can continue.
Mayor Giuliani, I think you expect your stance on a woman's right to choose to attract a lot of attention in this setting, sir. You have said that you personally hate abortion but support a woman's right to choose. Governor Huckabee says that's like saying I hate slavery, but people can go ahead and practice it. Tell me why he's wrong.
Well, there's no circumstances under which I could possibly imagine anyone choosing slavery or supporting slavery. There are people, millions and millions of Americans, who are as of good conscience as we are, who make a different choice about abortion. And I think in a country where you want to keep government out of people's lives, or government out of people's lives from the point of view of coercion, you have to respect that. There are things that you can oppose, things you can be against, and then you can come to the conclusion, in the kind of democracy we have, the kind of society that we have, and the kind of society we have where we want to keep government out of people's personal lives, that you can respect other people's view on this. And I think everyone on this stage, including most Democrats, could probably very, very usefully spend a lot of time figuring out how we can reduce abortion. It's going to take a while for the courts to figure out what to do about this. And while we're looking at that, we should do what I did in New York, which is to try and reduce abortions as much as you can, try to increase adoptions.
Governor, has the mayor persuaded you?
He is not. I have great respect for the mayor, and let me tell you why I have great respect. He's been honest about his opinion. He's been honest about his position. And I think that's a healthy thing for our party and for this debate. But I'm pro-life because I believe life begins at conception, and I believe that we should do everything possible to protect that life because it is the centerpiece of what makes us unique as an American people. We value the life of one as if it's the life of all. And that's why we go out for the 12-year-old Boy Scout in North Carolina when he's lost. That's why we look for the 13 miners in Sago, West Virginia, when the mine explodes. That's why we go looking for the hikers in Mount Hood, because we value life. And it's what separates us from the Islamic jihadists who are out to kill us. They celebrate death. They have a culture of death. Ours is a culture of life. Now, if something is morally wrong, let's oppose it. The honest argument is, I don't think it's morally wrong, and someone could take that position and then justify abortion. But if it's wrong, then we ought to be opposed to it, and we ought to find ways to find better ways to deal with our respect for human life.
Senator Brownback, no one thinks abortion should be available casually, but there are often very, very difficult decisions to be made in this case. Tell me, since you've opposed abortion in every instance except to save the life of the mother, how you would explain to a rape victim who does not believe that life begins at conception why her trauma should be compounded by carrying the child to term?
It'd be a very difficult situation, and it is a very difficult situation. But the basic question remains, is the child in the womb a person? Is it a viable life? And if it is a person, it's entitled to respect. And is it an innocent person? And I think that's the thing we've got to really look at here, is what are we doing? We talk about abortion, but abortion is a procedure. This is a life. that we're talking about. And it's a terrible situation where there's a rape that's involved or incest. But it nonetheless remains that this is a child that we're talking about doing this to, of ending the life of this child. Will that make the woman in a better situation if that's what takes place? And I don't think so, and I think we can explain it when we look at it for what it is, a beautiful child of a loving God that we ought to protect in all circumstances, in all places. Here in the womb, somebody that's struggling in poverty, a family that's struggling, we should work and look at all life, be pro-life and whole life for everybody.
Governor Romney, I want to give you another difficult abortion situation. You've explained that you once were pro-choice because a relative died after she underwent an illegal abortion. Tell me what you would say to someone else who lost a wife or a daughter to an illegal abortion if you named the Supreme Court justice who tipped the balance and overturned Roe versus Wade.
Well, obviously a terrible circumstance. As you described something of that nature, it just makes you sick. And I can't imagine my heart not being rent by virtue of having a circumstance like that presented to me. I can tell you that I've looked at this long and hard. I've always been personally pro-life. I've taught that to others. It's been part of my faith. The question for me was, what should government do in this kind of setting? And the Supreme Court stepped in and took a decision. And I said I'd support that decision. And then I watched the impact of that decision as I was governor of Massachusetts. And when we came to debating cloning and embryo farming, and we saw human life rack after rack that's going to be experimented upon and then disposed, I said Roe v. Wade has gone to such an extent that we've cheapened the value of human life. And I believe that a civilized society has to respect the sanctity of human life. And what I'm saying is that, in my view, the people should make this decision, not the court.
That concludes this round. We now go to the next.